Welcome back to the Cary Center Nonprofit Summit. We are thrilled you all have joined us to hear from our keynote speakers, Echo Garrett and Coach Bill Curry. I have the honor of introducing the first of our keynote speakers, Echo Garrett. Echo Garrett is an award-winning writer and journalist and co-author of My Orange Duffel Bag, the basis of the Orange Duffel Bag Initiative's coaching curriculum. She is a tireless advocate for ODB youth, frequently speaking and writing about the issues facing teens aging out of foster care. She has been recognized by Georgia Governor Nathan Deal for her efforts on behalf of at-risk youth. The American Society of Journalists and Authors awarded My Orange Duffel Bag the 2013 Arlene Eisenberg Award for Writing That Makes a Difference, given every 3 years to a book that made a significant difference in society. The Auburn University graduate was also named the 2013 Georgia Author of the Year by the Atlanta chapter of the National League of American Pen Women, recognizing her use of storytelling to raise awareness of this national crisis.
Thank you, Brittany. It's wonderful to be here with you all this afternoon. What I'm going to be talking about today is about being resilient as an organization. And as nonprofit leaders, we've all had to really adapt, as we all know, in these last several months during the COVID-19 crisis. And I want to just give a little bit of background on what Orange Duffel Bag does. We do executive level coaching for young people who are experiencing high poverty, homelessness, or are in foster care and aging out of foster care. And we do a 12-week after-school program, and with, like I said, executive level coaching. And our students, and it's based on the 7 rules for the road that are in the book. It's a transformational change process. And we've had tremendous success with helping our students stay on path for getting their educations and then graduating and also having a life plan. Like each of our students leaves the program with actually 3 life plans because again, as we've all experienced, we know change comes. So we serve students in Georgia. We were just exclusively serving students in Georgia, ages 14 to 24 who are in high school or college. Also, we have our Coaching to College Completion program, which has also yielded great success. What's ended up happening is we've always done those classes in person. And when COVID-19 hit, we were suddenly faced with, it was in the middle of our semester for all our college classes, as well as our high school classes. So we had a real crisis within our organization of how are we gonna do this? Because it was really right in the middle of the classes. And so we were thinking, okay, we were all in shock. We're all trying to figure out what's going to happen. And we were scrambling because we just didn't know when there was so much uncertainty. And after we got over our initial shock, we started thinking about the fact that this is really how our students live. All of our youth have gone through tremendous trauma. They've gone through tremendous uncertainties in their young lives. much like we're all experiencing now. And so I'm really happy to say that our president, we only have 2 paid staffers, our president and our vice president, President Mike Daly, and our vice president, Diana Black, our hardworking board, all of our coaches and our advocates, as well as our supporters, we all banded together to really start talking to our partners and really figure out how are we going to navigate this. And what's really interesting is I realized we were eating our own cooking. In other words, we were following the rules for the road. And one of the rules for the road is change. How do you adapt to change? How do you embrace change and make it really work for you? And so once we started relaxing into that and understanding that we just needed to practice what we preach with our kids all the time. And I'm sorry, I call them kids, our young people and our young adults. It was also, it was about resilience. You know, when you're a nonprofit, you have to be resilient. You have to find ways to change when the world demands it. And certainly with COVID, the world has demanded that. This was a particularly hard or crazy time for us because this is our 10th year anniversary. We had this big celebration planned at Georgia Tech, which is where Sam Bracken, whose story inspired this whole movement with the Orange Duffel Bag, because he came from Las Vegas as a homeless youth when he got a full ride football scholarship to Georgia Tech with Coach Bill Cary. So when we started, we were going to have this big celebration, and all of that just had to be adjusted and shut down. And so we just focused on how do we help our students, which has always been our focus. But there were a couple of things that were really interesting that happened. The biggest thing is we had to pivot from doing those in-person classes that have always been the hallmark of who we are, because we always felt like that personal touch was so important, because a big part of our coaching is our storytelling. And a lot of our students tell us that when they're in the class and hear other student stories, they hear our stories, and then they learn to build their own new story. They say that a lot of times that's the first time that they've really understood that there are other people who are going through similar things to them. And it starts to allow them to build empathy. And so we talked occasionally about going online and what that might look like, but we had just never really explored it because we'd been so successful with our old model. And so suddenly we were faced with a couple of problems, because one of our missions since the beginning, part of Orange Duffel Bag, was that at graduation, each student was awarded a fully loaded laptop computer for completing the program. Well, in reality, that's a really important piece of what we do, because a lot of our students do not have good access to to technology, and they really suffer from the digital divide, and this impacts their ability to get a job and to get their education, as we've now all seen, because now everything is online. And so we were thinking, okay, a lot of our students, but if they're not in school, they're not going to have access to those devices. And what was really wonderful is our school partners, we worked with the homeless liaisons in several counties and where we were having classes. And Clayton County in particular really stands out because they quickly got their students devices so that they could complete the coaching program. That was just phenomenal. So that was one of the unexpected gifts and surprises that has come out of this, was that we were able to find ways to enable our students to still participate. What's really awesome too is we were concerned about, okay, is it going to lose something in terms of, we love to celebrate with Orange Duffel Bag. We celebrate our students because we're so proud of them, and we're so excited when they graduate. So our graduations are a big celebration. And again, that was something we were thinking, okay, how is this all going to work? And it was just so exciting to see that our online celebrations had as much participation, and in some ways even more, because you could have just so many more people join and celebrate our young people. So they felt really loved and cared about through those celebrations. And they were able to do their presentations just like they normally did. And so again, these were all learning experiences. And then another challenge was, well, how are we going to get them their laptop computers and their orange duffel bag that they've earned? And again, it was just so interesting to see how people just stepped up. And so I'll use Clayton County again as an example. The deputy superintendent, Dr. Nunez, and the homeless liaison, Sonia Davis, along with Coach Luis Castro, they had a tent pitched in the parking lot of the local high school there, and they'd arranged for the students to come, and everything was socially distanced and safe, to the hilt, believe me. And
Echo, I think we lost. Can everyone put your thumbs up if you have the sound? I lost sound for a second.
Okay.
Everyone good?
Okay.
Okay, good. Keep going. My apologies.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So it's just really exciting because they each were awarded their laptop that they had earned and got the orange duffel bag, just like usual. And it was a powerful day. And what's ended up happening, and one other thing that was really just an unexpected blessing and exciting with our high school students. We had one young woman out in Gwinnett County who is Spanish. She's from Honduras, and she doesn't speak hardly any English. And so in the past, we had not had a translation of our materials. And so she was, Coach Luis translated, made sure she had a translation, and then also was able to coach her privately to make sure she really understood the material and she told us later on that this was one of the first times since she had been put in foster care that she felt truly included in something. And that was very emotional to me to hear, just again, how this out of this traumatic, tragic event that's happened to our world, that some good things are happening for young people as individuals. The really amazing thing, we went from, at the beginning of this whole of COVID-19, thinking, how are we even going to do this? You know, because our funding is directly tied to the successful graduation of our students from their classes. With a lot of our classes, that's how the funding comes. And so we were thinking, oh my goodness, how is this, what's going to happen to the organization? What's going to happen to our students? And then the incredible thing is that this change that was forced upon us has caused us to be able to serve more than 100 students this semester, which is more than we've ever served in a single semester ever. So that creativity and embracing change and finding new ways to navigate has enabled us to do even more. And another big surprising gift in all this traumatic time was the collective impact that we've been able to have with our partners. We had known, we have always been about working with other groups that are like-minded, a little bit. One of our colleagues was saying that in one of the other sessions, and I really appreciated that, because Orange Duffel Bag has always been about what I call net weaving. We look for the helpers, as Mr. Rogers says, and we find people who are all share our passion and love for our young people and just want to help. And one of those organizations is the Insoro Foundation. They give scholarships to students who are in foster care so that they can go to college. And through this, we decided when they found out we're going online and what we're doing and everything, they came to us and they have now partnered with us, and every Insoro scholarship recipient is now being asked to take our Coaching to College Completion course. And so that means that our coaching has now gone nationwide among college students, because we can do our classes all over the country using this new method. And we're also all about making sure our program is really being effective for our students. And so we were really eager to see what we always have our classes independently assessed by a college or university and researchers. And what they found is that the online classes are just as effective and are doing exactly what we've done in the past with our in-person classes. And for me personally, that was a surprise again, but it's a gift, because it's enabled us to, with our high school students in particular, it's also enabled us to reach students in very unpopulated areas. And in the state of Georgia, for instance, and I'm sure it's this way in many states, there are a lot of students in rural areas who often get overlooked and don't get the chance to participate in something like this. And in our case, we always typically had classes of anywhere from 20 to 25 students. And in some of those rural areas, it would have been impossible to pull those students together for a class due to transportation issues. Now we don't have any of those issues. That transportation was one of our big barriers at times to some of our classes. And now we're able to just serve our students. So it's just been really exciting and totally unexpected to see that this, what looked like such a curse, has actually benefited some students whose needs have often been overlooked. The other thing that was really surprising was that it made us look at our messaging, because we've always said that we're about social justice, and we're about education, helping young people complete their education. But we, in looking at with funders, as a lot of you nonprofit leaders know, a lot of times people sort of shift their focus, or they are looking for other things. And we had not talked, and when we looked at our messaging, we realized that we hadn't talked enough about all the barriers that the students that we serve face. And we had not emphasized as much as we probably need to, the fact that we serve young people of all races, of all ethnicities, of all cultures, of all gender identifications, of all, we have a lot of students who have disabilities. And we just love our kids, and we just look at them as our students. And so we had not talked about that enough, though, that we reach a really broad range of students. And that's important, because you have to look at, as nonprofit leaders, we all have to look at what are the funders looking for. And you can meet their criteria, but if you aren't crafting your message to help them understand that you're meeting that criteria, then that can be an issue. You know, some of our, and one of our concerns again was we had to cancel or postpone. We're now having it in April, our big 10th anniversary celebration. And so we were concerned about, okay, well, how are funders going to respond to all this? How is this going to work? And we were, again, really surprised and honored that longtime supporters like J.E. Dunn and Primerica Foundation and the Dr. Alan Eckert family all stood up and said, you can count on us. There's no way, we support your work, and there's no way that we're letting anything happen to Orange Duffelbag. And sorry, to know that no matter what, even during all the difficult time that we had gone through, that our work was not endangered, and what we've been able to do with our young people was going to go on. That was such a huge relief, just to hear from our funders like that. But I think ultimately, when it comes down to everything, probably one of the most powerful examples for me of what we do is we simply love. And that's the 7th rule of the road. And there's a young lady who I think exemplifies what Orange Duffel Bag does for our students. Her name is Katrina Oglesby. And she was recommended into our program. I believe she was 16 when she came to us. And she came to us as a foster care student. And she was recommended by Cary Steele Pitt's home, which is one of our partners. I love the folks at Cary Steele Pitt's, but and Katrina successfully completed our program, and then she was accepted into Kennesaw State University. She graduated from Kennesaw State two summers ago, and with the highest honors, and she got accepted into she wants to be a doctor, and so she got accepted into a special program at Southern Illinois University that it's like a pre-medical training. And through Cary Steele Pitt's, we have a really unique relationship with them because we went to United Way of Greater Atlanta several years ago to talk to them about present our idea of how to help students who are homeless who are in college. And so Cary Steele Pitt's, we presented this to United Way, and they gave us a grant so that when students come home who have been in foster care and don't have anywhere else to go, when they come home for college break, they can stay at Cary Steele Pitt's and work and do whatever they need to do. Well, during COVID-19, Katrina was home for spring break, and all of a sudden, Southern Illinois, like all these other schools, just shut down the middle semester. And thanks to that partnership, and she had a safe place to stay and figure out what she was going to do, just like everybody else. And she had a safe base, home base, and she knew she was safe and she was loved. And the Ensora Foundation, we've all enveloped her with care and love because she's one of our young people and she has a great future. And that's ultimately what it's all about for us. All comes down to love. Thank you.
Oh, Echo, thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much for the wonderful work you all are doing through the Orange Duffel Bag Initiative. Some of us wore orange in your honor today, and of course in Auburn's honor. But listen, one of the things that I'm so struck by and amazed with is ODBI's ability to be flexible and to remain consistent in a very unusual time. You've talked so much about your donors and the people who you benefit. And one of the takeaways that I've had from today's summit and listening to the various sessions is we all need champions. We all need champions in times of crisis, in times of high points in our life, low points in our lives, whatever we need, but we all need special advocates. And I know you are so grateful, as are we, for the way that Coach Cary has been your champion and your advocate, and certainly Sam Bracken, who inspired the whole beginning of the Orange Duffel Bag Initiative. I'm honored today to introduce Coach Cary. He's been my family's champion for 6 decades or so. And through so many different relationships that we've had with his family, and then throughout many generations. And so this is really special for me personally, and of course professionally, to be able to introduce someone who I consider to be an amazing champion for all. Like I said, Coach Cary, he is one of those very special men who has accomplished so much and yet remained humble and true to his values of faith, family, friends, and hard work. Most of you know that he spent most of his adult life as a leadership life leader and communicator. He certainly spent some time in the NFL and has 2 Super Bowl titles, and was at one point the president of the NFL Players Association. Coach Cary served as head coach for Georgia Tech, University of Alabama, University of Kentucky, and he was recognized in 1989 as the nation's top coach with the Bobby Dodd National Coach of the Year Award. From 1997 to 2008, Coach Cary came into millions of homes each football Saturday as an analyst for ESPN. And in September of 2006, the American Football Coaches Association announced Coach Cary as the recipient of the 2007 Amos Alonzo Stagg Award in honor of his outstanding service towards the advancement of best interest of football. In 2008, Coach Cary was selected as the inaugural head coach of Georgia State University's new football program. And during that time, he wrote a book called 10 Men You Can Meet in the Huddle. That was released in 2008, as I mentioned, by ESPN Books, and you can purchase that today on Amazon. After he retired from college football coaching, he and friend Pete Wellborn started a communications company called AIM Sports Reputation Management, where they provide crisis handling and leadership and success training to universities, professional franchises, and other members in the sports industry. Now, Coach Cary will tell you his biggest champion is his wife, Dr. Carolyn Newton of Atlanta, and his other huge champions are his children. He has 2 with Dr. Cary, and they have 7 grandchildren. Coach Cary, a special warm welcome to you today, and many heartfelt thanks for all you do for others. And we look forward to hearing from you and inspiring us as we work through today's themes of putting knowledge into action. Welcome, Coach. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Sid. To Sid, James, and Aknavan, to the entire James family, I want to begin by saying there are certain spots in our lives that mean more than any other. And if you've been blessed to have your parents live a long time, you'll know that one of those blessings is to have aging parents that are full of wisdom and love, and maybe not so much of the discipline that we remember from early years. And Sid, your dad was a great example of that. Hiring my father, and then your dad and mom, and all of you welcomed them to the Opelika, Auburn area, and treated them with such grace and love and dignity as they came down the stretch. I can't tell you how much it means to me to remember the things that y'all did for them. And you know what I'm talking about. You did things that folks just don't do. Wonderful, dear things on their anniversaries, and things that just made my parents so very happy. I want to say thank you to the entire Auburn Opelika community, because when we went to Alabama, I had one great fear, and it was really a big one. I wasn't worried if somebody's going to say something ugly to my dad, because you need to be real careful before you did that. And it wouldn't have bothered him at all if you had started talking trash. But I was very worried about my mom, who was incredibly sensitive, especially if you said anything about her little boy. The entire time that we were there, and then all the years afterward, everybody in the Auburn, Opelika area was kind to my mom. And I get emotional, Echo, thinking about that, and how they were allowed to live their last years in dignity and love, and didn't have to worry about a lot of the nonsense that we create when we run around and start smashing people in the head, which is how I found Sam Bracken. He was running around smashing people in the head, also making a 4.0 GPA, also being 6'4", 230 pounds, and could run like the wind. And I would like to tell you that I had completely altruistic reasons for bringing him to Georgia Tech, but I brought him for all the reasons I just enumerated. I had no idea he was homeless. I had no idea that every single possession he had in the world could be packed into one orange duffel bag. And that's the origin of the tale and of this magnificent story that you just heard. And this magnificent woman who documented it in an award-winning book that you will not be able to put down. No less than Dr. Carolyn Newton Curry raves about Echo's book, The Orange Duffel Bag, which is about Sam Bracken. Sam came to us at Georgia Tech, and we were so thrilled to get him. We couldn't quite understand how we got him, but we were happy he was there. Leaving the practice field one day, I noticed he's sitting on the side of the bank and he's sobbing. So I go sit down, and there's this big freshman guy. He's the fastest guy on the field. He's the smartest guy. He's got nothing to be sobbing about. I said, Sam, are you hurt? No, sir, I'm okay. It's all right, coach. He's trying to get rid of me. I wouldn't leave, though. I needed to know what was going on. So I finally got him to talk, and it turns out that there was a trauma in his family, which was very much the norm. His mom had told him that she had wished he had never been born, and that he could just go ahead. Now, he was reconciled with her later and was careful to make sure that he let his mom know that he loved her no matter what. But Sam also brought this great heart to us. He became a starting player. He excelled academically. He has a wonderful family. And he and Echo documented this orange duffel bag idea and started it, I believe, in 2000, 2006 or 7, Echo, when you first came in 2010 when the book came out, but y'all came to see me about 2007. And since then, these miracles have been happening. For those of you that are really interested in seeing a nonprofit that knocks them out, when we get back to normal, go see if you can find out when the orange duffel bag's having a graduation, and just ask and see if you can go sit in the back of the room. You will be brought to tears and laughter and all kinds of genuine emotions, because it is just a wonderful thing. But I owe Auburn another debt of gratitude. Auburn has taught me great humility, because it didn't matter where I went as a head coach, we couldn't beat Auburn. We couldn't beat Auburn at anything, anytime, anywhere. And it turns out, and again, Carolyn would agree, maybe I needed some lessons in humility, but I wish Auburn had not been so good at teaching them. So when I think about Auburn, I don't think in anger. I think in terms of, I take responsibility for all of those losses. And when you're the head coach, they are your responsibility. And that's where I want to start today. We're talking about converting knowledge into action. Great leaders do that. I do not number myself among great leaders. Sam Bracken is a great leader. Echo is a great leader. You find ways to channel ideas into action, and you do it consistently because of the consistency in your life. Football is one vehicle to do that. And I remember after every one of those losses, not just Auburn, but the others, I remember, gee, I never even wanted to do this. I didn't even want to play football. I had two goals in life. I wanted to marry Carolyn Newton, and I wanted to pitch for the New York Yankees. I told Cal James all about this when he was still living. He laughed up his sleeve. Yeah, you pitching for the Yankees. And only one thing kept me out of the majors in baseball: talent. So I end up on a football field where I didn't even want to be. And not only did I end up on a football field, but I ended up stuck at the position that nobody wanted to play. Coach stuck me at offensive center. I said, you want me to take this 13 pounds per square inch oblate spheroid, and you want me to pull this up between my legs? And some guy's going to put his hands where? He's going to put his hands right there. I don't want his hands there, coach. I don't even want to be out here. And I would have quit in a heartbeat, except that my father lived at our house. And when W.A. Curry, Major W.A. Curry, lives at your house, you don't quit anything. He said, I didn't make you go out there, boy, but you went out there, and you're not going to quit. You're not going to leave your teammates. You're not going to let them down. First great lesson I learned from the sport of football: knowledge into action. Once you make a commitment to a group of people, you do not let them down. That's what champions do. but I didn't understand champion. All I wanted to do was quit, but I was stuck. And I had to learn to hike the ball to Tommy Fields, my high school quarterback. And I thought, okay, worst possible scenario for short, fat, lazy 12-year-old Bill Curry. Oh, by the way, my other goal, Mary Carol Newton, we'll be having our 58th anniversary this December. So that one worked out. I was 50% successful on my big goals. The football thing about hiking the ball, what appeared to be the worst possible outcome for short, fat, lazy Bill Curry ended up being the best, because not only did I learn to hike that ball to Tommy Fields, and if you got any veteran football people on here, you're going to recognize some of these names. But a few years after that, I learned to hike that ball to Stanley Gann and Billy Lothridge at Georgia Tech. Lothridge was a Heisman Trophy runner-up. In the Senior Bowl that year, I learned to hike that ball to Joe Willie Namath, who became a lifelong friend. In the College All-Star game, I learned to hike that ball to Roger Staubach and Bob Timberlake and Craig Morton. A couple of weeks after that, I learned to hike that ball to Bart Starr and Zeke Bratkowski. And 2 years later, I learned to hike that ball to Johnny Unitas and Earl Morrall. And in various games and at various times, I learned to hike that ball to Dan Pastorini and Bob Greasy and Darryl LaMonica, the greatest quarterback / leaders in the history of our sport. And I had the privilege of conveying the football to them and then being their personal protector for all the years of my career. And it was the only position in all of sport that would have allowed me, with my meager physical talents, to have a career. That which appears to be the worst thing that can happen. You just heard it from Echo. Worst thing that could happen, the orange duffel bag. Oh my gosh, what did they do? They adapted. And they turned it into another miracle. They do it all the time. I've watched them. And I'm sick that I didn't know it was going on, Echo. Next time you have an emergency, call me up so I can watch y'all make something great happen out of something terrible, because they do it all the time. I'm so proud of him, so proud of what Sam has done with his life. He now has a wonderful career and a wonderful family, by the way. It's worth a lot to an old coach, because see, that's the product that I cherish the most. Our players who go on to do well. And the great selfish, now this, I'm bragging now. I'm announcing this is bragging, and I'm not going to apologize for it, but and it's a serendipity, one of my favorite words. One of the things that you get if you work with young people a long, long time that I didn't expect, and I'm going to be 78 years old in 3 weeks, but I hear from my guys every day. I'll be on the air with one of my guys, George Teague, who's a high school coach out in Texas now, who played at the University of Alabama, who's a great human being, only because he got the message that team is what matters, and you convert ideas into action by building teams without reference to our differences, by bringing people together who appear unable to work together. There is vast knowledge on this call. I'm aware of that. I don't know everybody. I know a few of the people, and I know the ones that are up here that I'm able to see have already accomplished great things in their lives. I know that every single one of us is blessed with a gift. I worked at Baylor School, where Cal James was a student before he came to Georgia Tech. And I'm not sure, Sid, but I think Fob went there too. Did he go to Baylor as well before he went to Auburn? I don't know. But
He
Baylor
did.
He did? Okay.
And you might recall that my brother, sister, and uncle also went there.
Oh, I can't recall it because I didn't know it, but so brother, sister, and uncle also went to Baylor School in Chattanooga. Well, I worked there for 2 years. It's a great place. And as I was leaving the campus one day, I noticed etched in stone, 12 letters, 5 syllables, 1 word from the Latin, magna nimitas. I want you to memorize it. It's easy to remember if you're a good Latin student. I was not, so I had to write it down. If you break it into 2 words, it's easier to remember. Magna, meaning great, nimitas, meaning spirit, and it means greatness of spirit. Well, at the first time I saw it, I didn't get it. So I went and asked somebody, what's the deal with the Latin word? The long Latin word is etched in stone as you leave this campus. They said, oh, that was Dr. Baylor's final message to his students back in 1926 or whenever it was. He said, you may become a great theologian or a great philanthropist or a great teacher or mom or dad or coach, but you'll never be the person that God made you to be until you locate your magnanimitas, your greatness of spirit, develop it, and give it to a cause greater than yourself. You'll never be all that you can be until you locate your magnanimitas, develop it, and give it to a cause greater than yourself. That's what the orange duffel bag does every single day. I've studied champions for a long, long time. I was not always a champion. My teams were not always champions, but that's what we were fighting to become with every ounce of our energy in our sport. We think our sport has special merit because it is the only sport, and I'm talking about football now. No, it doesn't have all the answers, and yes, it has a lot of problems, and some of them are terrible problems on the injury front. What we do with this COVID-19 stuff, it's an issue, and we have to address those. But here's what we have. We have the only sport that I'm aware of in which every player needs every teammate on every play just to survive. Well, that's the way life is. And that's what the United States of America is supposed to be. And we've forgotten that. We have completely forgotten that. I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm talking about working together on stuff that matters, and our country matters. And what we're doing today at this nonprofit summit matters. It makes a difference. And I'm going to give you the 6 characteristics. And this is not something I read in a book. And I didn't get this from a Vince Lombardi story, although he's a big part of it. I have to admit, this wasn't in a Bobby Dodd post on the wall. This came from personal experience. The first attribute of champions is a real obvious one, but there's so much more to it than the words that I use. Champions show up. When it's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work, and it's not much fun, champions show up. When did Echo choke up talking to us? She was talking about the champions who didn't let them down when it mattered. Champions show up. And by the way, they show up on time. They show up on time every time. And when I think about the great champions in my life, the great Willie Davis at Green Bay, Bart Starr, Johnny Unitas, all those guys, I don't remember any of them ever being late for anything, ever. I was late sometimes. I'm embarrassed to say that. They were never late. Champions show up. Now, maybe I've got them inflated in my mind. That's possible, but I don't think so. Champions show up on time, and they show up ready to go to work no matter what. Our communities come together on Friday nights. After the trade towers fell, 9/11, most of us know where we were. Most of us don't remember where we were that Thursday, 9/13, Thursday, September 13th, 2001. I do, because I was working for ESPN, and ESPN declared, you're not getting on airplanes this week. Good decision, because they didn't know what was coming next. They said, we're going to give you an assignment close to your home or reasonably close. So I'm driving to Birmingham to do the Alabama-Southern Mississippi game. It's going to be played Saturday, September 15th, 2001, if indeed the games were to be played. While we were in transit, the NCAA was deciding whether or not the games are going to be played. Well, I stopped in Attala, Alabama to get gas. And the fellow said, hey, coach, are we going to play the games this week? I said, I don't know. But if my phone rings while I'm at your station, you may be the first fan in America to find out, because they're going to call me and tell me to go on and do the game or go home because the games are not going to be played. Well, sure enough, my phone rang and I was told to go home. The games were called off. Good decision. So I walked back up to this guy, Attala, Alabama, and I look over the cash register. I said, hey, you asked me a question. Well, we're not going to play. And I'll never forget his response if I live to be 1,000. He stuck his head across that cash register. His eyes bulged out. He said, well, let me tell you something, coach. come Friday night in Attalla, Alabama, we're going to play football because it means a lot to us. Whoa. Wow. I started driving home and I was so distraught. I was so worked up. I was so upset. I turned it into a prayer meditation. And I asked God, please help me with this. I don't get it. Why does anybody care if we play a football game Friday night? And it gradually came to me. That's when America huddles. America sits together and we watch our kids play. On Friday nights, I imagine the numbers are down this year, but I looked it up. On Friday nights in normal times, 1 million kids play football in the United States of America. 2,000 of them are girls. I looked it up. The National High School Association. And guess what happens in the stands? People that have been raised to hate each other's guts are sitting together because their kids are playing in the same huddle. They're on the same team. Somebody scores a touchdown. What do? We hug. We don't stop to see what color the guy's skin is. We just hug him because our team just did something. And we learn to love each other. That's the stuff that matters. And those kids that are in those huddles and in those locker rooms, they're friends for life. Because they find out, by golly, that center, that quarterback, is to where he likes that center a lot because he's not going to have the ball unless the center decides to give it to him. And the center better block somebody or the quarterback's not going to be throwing any passes. The first attribute of the great champions that I've been around is that they show up. The second is singleness of purpose. They show up ready to do the job that needs to be done. And the singleness of purpose in America today is best articulated many times by our nonprofits, our great nonprofits. And there are 5 values that are shared by every religion, every political system. I'm talking about the liberals and the conservatives, the Republicans and the Democrats. I'm talking about the communists and all the different religions across the world share 5 values. There's not even any argument. Fairness, honesty, respect, responsibility, compassion. We teach our children fairness, honesty, respect, responsibility, compassion. Great leaders embody those 5 characteristics. The Institute for Global Ethics has studied the cultures all over the world and has surveyed the cultures, and scientifically it's been documented that nobody disagrees that these are the values that we should embody. In our country, we have forgotten our values. Those are the values that made America great. So the second characteristic of a champion is singleness of purpose, the maintaining of the values. The third characteristic of the great champions is unselfishness. When I reported to the Green Bay Packers, I had several problems. I was the last draft choice. That was one of them. I was too little. I was too slow. That was another one. I didn't like Vince Lombardi. That was a big no-no. I didn't like him because he was a Yankee and he was one of those Catholics, and I didn't know any Catholics. We weren't supposed to like those people. We weren't supposed to like people of color. And so I'm looking around the locker room and I realized that I'd never been in a huddle with an African-American person. And Vince Lombardi had one overwhelming rule that went before all the rest of them, and that was no prejudice. Everybody is equal. Everybody gets a chance. And I'd never seen that. I'd never been in a huddle with an African-American person. And I thought he had more African-American players than anybody in the league. And I thought, these guys are going to hear my Southern accent. They're going to kill me. That's not what they did. I'm walking out of the meeting one night, terrified. West Superior, Wisconsin. It's about 40 degrees and it's August the 15th. That ain't right. I mean, everything was weird, everything. And this voice came out of the darkness from behind. Bill, I thought it was God. I just sat down in the grass. It was Willie Davis, defensive captain. Grambling State University, working on his master's degree in business at the University of Chicago while being the captain of the greatest football team of all time. The Packers were already being called the greatest team of all time. And I thought, uh-oh, this guy's going to tell me to go home. And the one thing I was terrified of, I did not want to call my girl and tell them they're sending me home. I desperately wanted to make that team. I waited to hear what he was going to say. The great man shocked me. He said, Bill, I've been watching you at practice. I like your effort. You got a chance to make our team, and I'm going to help you. I said, you're going to help me? This white kid, this prejudiced kid from College Park, Georgia? I didn't say those words out loud. He said, I tell you what you do. When Ray Nitschke, our friendly middle linebacker, is tearing your head off, which he did, and Lombardi's screaming profanity in your face, which he did, and spitting in your eye, which he did, and you don't think you can take it another minute, you come find me and I'll get you through it. I'll get you through it. Unexpected, undeserved, unrewarded acts of kindness from great leaders change lives. Greatness is in the giving of simple, kind acts. Great leaders are unselfish. Great leaders never let us down when it counts. Great leaders look us in the eye and tell us they're going to go to bat for us, and then they go to bat for us. I made the Green Bay Packers largely because the African-American players decided to accept me before I decided to accept them. And when they did that, they didn't just help me to play in the NFL for a long time and go to a bunch of Super Bowls. They changed my life. And that's the opportunity we get every day when people are different from us and we decide to love them regardless. Great leaders, champions are unselfish. Champions are tough, and I'm running out of time here. Champions are tough, and that's obvious. And I'm talking about, yes, fourth down on the goal line, get your pads down, move your feet, keep your head up, knock them back, all that stuff. But more importantly, champions are responsible. Champions take responsibility for their units. Champions never pass the buck. Champions never point fingers. Champions never say, oh, it's somebody else's fault. They take responsibility. It's on me. Let me have the responsibility. We'll get the job done together because I will be the leader and I will make us get it right. They are tough that way. And finally, champions are smart, meaning prepared, meaning they're willing to do the things that the other people will not do. That's characteristic number 5. And champions don't give up on us. Champions, when we think we can't take another step, they come find us and say, I know you can do it. You see, in our business, the moment of truth is not those times when you're stepping up and you see the guy getting up there with the Super Bowl trophy or when they hand out the Super Bowl rings. The moment of truth is in the fourth quarter when there's a minute left and you've lost 12 pounds to dehydration and you've played 23 football games in a row and you don't want to take another snap. I don't want to win the game. I don't care if they sack Unitas. I just want to go home. I just want to quit. I just want to suck on the oxygen. So if all that stuff doesn't make me go, what does? I decide, I think I'll just cool it here. Then this still small voice deep inside, magnanimitas, that little flame that never flickers, that little gift from God says to me, don't you dare. You're not going to let your brother down. Just like my dad talking in my ear when I'm 12 years old. You're not quitting. You keep your head up. You move your feet. You protect that passer. You finish this drive. You win this game. And then I look at the poor guy next to me. He's just as tired as I am. And I know what he's going to do because we've been there together so many, many times. He's not going to let me down. And I can't let him down. And if we were together physically today, I would ask now that we all join hands and know that when we make that decision, that fundamental decision to not let each other down, when we do that and we go beyond all our differences and all our prejudices, when we join hands, our capacity to do great things does not increase arithmetically. It does not increase geometrically. It increases exponentially. And when that happens, we don't just change a little thing, we change the world. God bless you, Sid, for inviting me to do this and staying after me and having all those meetings with me. Thank you. I love you. I love all y'all. Keep up the great work.
Hey, Coach Curry, we love you too. Thank you so very, very much. Big hands in the air here. Hey, if you, do you have a sec or two maybe to take a question?
Oh yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, so we can do this maybe one or two ways. You can, for attendees, you can put something in the chat box. If there's something there, go ahead and put it in there. Meanwhile, after we scroll through some chat, if there is anything in the chat box, I'm going to pass the baton back to Britt, who will close this out. But hey, Coach Cary, in the meantime, many heartfelt thanks to you, and echo to you. Hey, keep it going. Don't give up. We're in this together, and we're in the huddle together. And if we could, as Coach says, link hands and arms, we'd do so right now and assure each other that life is there are challenges, but whatever, we'll get through all that too. So Britt, I'm going to pass the chat box over to you and let you close out. I'm going to mute now and let it go back to you, and you close this out. Thanks again, Coach, and all attendees, and Echo, thank you.
Thank
Britt.
you.
Hi. All right. Thank you, Echo and Coach Cary, for sharing with us today. That was incredible. We are so grateful for you taking the time out of your schedules to join us. And before we close out the program, I would like to recognize the Student Philanthropy Board Nonprofit Employee of the Year, Catherine Cochran. Each spring, the Student Philanthropy Board, a mentoring initiative of the Women's Philanthropy Board, invites all Cary Center nonprofit affiliates and philanthropic organizations to nominate outstanding employees for consideration of the Nonprofit Employee of the Year award. This award honors individuals who, through their professional efforts, are making a difference in the lives of Alabama citizens and those beyond. The 2020 Nonprofit Employee of the Year award recipient is Catherine Cochran, who serves as a Twin Cedars Child Advocacy Center Program Coordinator, located in Opelika, Alabama. In 2019 alone, Catherine led a team that conducted 245 forensic interviews, 25 forensic medical exams, 285 counseling sessions, and closed 25 child abuse investigation cases with successful prosecution. She is lauded both for her tireless work as the leader of the Child Advocacy Center and her work educating and helping the community. Catherine is a College of Human Sciences alumna, and we are proud to acknowledge her outstanding achievements today. Catherine, if you would please give us a wave. And once again, thank you all for joining us for the 4th Annual Cary Center Nonprofit Summit. We're delighted you chose to spend your morning with us. The Cary Center and its nonprofit affiliate program has several professional development opportunities lined up for fall, to include the Cary Center Nonprofit Volunteer Internship and Career Fair, which we call Meet Me at the Vic, on Wednesday, November 4th. We're going to go ahead and drop the information for that in the chat. You can register at aub.ie/VicFall20. And if you are a Cary Center nonprofit affiliate, you have known about the VIC for a few weeks. That's just one of the perks of being one of our affiliates. Cary Center nonprofit affiliates are the first to know of our professional development and networking opportunities, and it's free to join. You do not have to be from Auburn or Alabama. People from across the United States and the world are nonprofit affiliates. To register, simply go to aub.ie/NPAAPP, and you can again find that information in your chat. And please be sure to visit our Facebook page and other social media accounts as listed in today's program. Also, be on the lookout for our follow-up email. We are currently conducting a survey on the impact of COVID-19 on the services and revenue of nonprofits, and would love your participation. You will find a link to that survey in our follow-up email. That survey ends Friday. Again, we would love your participation. And thank you to all of our speakers for imparting your wisdom on us today, and to all of you for attending the Cary Center Nonprofit Summit. We look forward to seeing you soon.